All right, hello. Next section of notes, 1.6, titled Midpoint and Distance in the Coordinate Plane. I want to start off with this. That's called the midpoint formula. So if you're given 2 points and you draw a line segment between them, the midpoint is given by this formula. The midpoint is called M for midpoint. And basically all you do is you add the x coordinates together and divide by 2, and then add the y coordinates together and also divide by 2. So in essence, all you're doing is averaging. You are averaging. Average. So if you look at this next example, find the coordinates of midpoint PQ with endpoints 8, negative 8, 3, and negative 2, 7. Well, I'm going to draw just a little line segment and call this P and this Q, and we'll call the midpoint point M. So be negative 8, 3 here and negative 2, 7 there. So the midpoint would be, this is where I average. I take the x's, which would be negative 8 plus negative 2, divide that by 2, comma 3 plus 7, and divide that by 2. And I need parentheses around this because it's an ordered pair. So simplifying now, that would be what on top? Negative 10 over 2, comma 3 and 7 makes positive 10 over 2. And I can simplify farther to negative 5 and positive 5. So the midpoint right here would be negative 5, comma 5 of that line segment. But the next one, I guess we already have a picture there. My midpoint would be right in here somewhere. So E to F, my midpoint would be, let's add the x's together by saying like negative 2 plus 5, divide by 2, comma, add the y's, 3 plus negative 3, divide that by 2. Notice I'm writing it with parentheses. So simplifying, that would be what? 3 over 2, comma 0 over 2, and that's just a 0. And there's my answer. My midpoint is 3.5, comma 0. Now, the next part is a little more tricky. This time it says M is the midpoint of line segment XY. Let's draw this. Let's draw a line segment XY. Midpoint is M. X, it says, has a coordinate of 2, 7. Let's write that down. M has coordinates of 6, 1. So we're asked to find the coordinates of y. So now instead of trying to find the midpoint, you're asked to find an endpoint. So let's just call that xy. So we do it the same way. We add the x coordinates together and divide by 2. So my midpoint, the x coordinate midpoint, is 6. So I'm going to write this formula. 6 equals 2 plus x, that's x coordinate, divided by 2. And solve that. If I multiply by 2, I get 12. That's 2 plus x, and then subtract 2, I get 10. So my x coordinate is 10. In other words, this point over here is 10 comma something. Then to find the y coordinate, I take this 1 right here. 1 is going to equal, now average the y coordinates. This 7 plus this y, 7 plus y, divided by 2. Multiplied by 2, I get 2 equals 7 plus y. Subtract 7, that gives me negative 5 equals y. So a negative 5 goes right here. So my answer is 10, negative 5. I want to skip this next one. Talk about the ruler postulate, but also the distance formula. Again, you may be familiar with this from Algebra 2, but right there it is. Make sure you circle the distance formula. The first thing we did was the midpoint formula. Now the distance formula. If you look, Pythagorean theorem. You should be familiar with this. Pythagorean theorem is given by this right here. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. With that said, can we use the distance formula and the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance to the nearest tenth from D to E? So let's do it two ways. Let's do the distance formula first. From D to E. Here's the distance formula. The big square root, we take the second x minus the first x and square that, plus the second y minus the first y, we square that. So the distance is going to be big square root. The x's, let's go 3, this 3 right here, minus negative 2. 3 minus negative 2. Of course, you have to square it. Plus the y's would be 4 minus negative 5 squared. So let's simplify these. It's going to be 3 minus negative 5 is 5. Square that. That makes 25. And then plus be 9. So it'd be 81. So my distance would be square root of 106. Square root of 106. Then, if I use the Pythagorean theorem now, let's see if I get the same answer. Well, that's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, a is right here, and we can just count the length of this line segment, which looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That length of that triangle is 5. B over here, let's count the length of this line segment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we'll call this one up here C. So we want to write 5 squared plus 9 squared equals C squared. Or in other words, 25 plus 81 is C squared. That should look familiar. That's 106 equals C squared. So C would be the square root of 106. So we got the same answer, just doing it two ways. Distance formula and Pythagorean theorem. Hey, that's your notes. Thanks for watching.